Good morning students. Welcome back to computer science class. So today in this class we'll discuss about the interface unit. Okay. So interface unit is the last component of anatomy of computers. So in anatomy of computers already we completed three parts. One is the input and output devices, memory, CPU, and the last part is the interface unit. Okay. Actually, what is this interface unit? What is the use of this interface unit? Today we'll discuss. Actually, this example, this is a CPU and this is a primary memory and this is a secondary memory example. So, CPU will execute all the instructions, means it will perform all the actions. Okay, so whatever the user want to do, all the actions done by the CPU. Okay, so actually what this interface unit do is, what it will do is, it will connect this CPU with the memory and other like a keyboard and mouse, other input and output devices. Understood? What is the use of the input, this interface unit? Interface unit connects the CPU with other units like a memory, input and output units. Understood? So, actually, if data and instructions transferred between your CPU and the different units of your system with the help of the interface unit. Understood? So, interface unit is nothing but it is a connection between your CPU and other parts of the system, because CPU needs instructions and data from other units. And who will give that data and instructions to the CPU? This interface unit will give. Understood? So, what is the interface unit? Interface unit provides interconnection between CPU and other units of the system. Okay. Now, actually, what it is? It is a physical or physical or not? It means you can touch it or not. We'll discuss now. Actually, it is a wires. Okay, these are the physical wires and different lines which connects CPU with the other devices. Okay, these are the physical wires or lines which connects your CPU with other units. Understood? So, depends on the nature of the interface unit. Here we have a different units, different buses. First one is a data bus, address bus, control bus. So, depends on the nature, depends on the function of the interface unit. Here how many buses we have? Actually, bus is nothing but it is a transportation between a CPU and other parts of the system. Okay, so different buses we have here. One is actually, that interface is called as a bus. Data bus, address bus, control bus. Data bus transfers data between CPU and other units of the system. Okay, what is the job of the data bus? Data bus transfers data between CPU and other units of the system. Okay, the next one is the address bus. And address bus, when the data is transferred from your secondary memory to the primary memory or to the CPU, the data is transferred from one place to another place, means whatever address is needed to transfer the data between different units is done by the address bus. Means this bus will transfer the addresses of a different blocks or it will go through the address bus. It will transfer the addresses. The next one is the control bus. This unit, this bus will control all the transmission between a CPU and different devices of the system. Actually, what is the job of this? It will provide the different signals. It will provide the different signals and different instructions that the particular device is busy and a particular device is working. The state of the device means it is active or inactive. That information is given by the control bus. Okay, so this is about your interface unit. What is the interface unit? Interface unit is provide connection between CPU and different units of the system. That different units can be your memory and different input and output devices. So depends on the nature of the work, depends on the connection. Here how many buses we have? 3 buses. One is a data bus and the second one is an address bus, third one is a control bus. Data bus transfers data between CPU and the different units of the system. Address bus, what it will transfer? Address. When files are transferred from one place to other place, address is also needed. That information is given by the address bus. The third one is the control bus. It will provide the information about the different devices, means the devices are active or inactive, means it will provide different signals. Okay, that is the job of the control bus. So this is about interface unit. With this, we completed anatomy of computers. So anatomy is nothing but it is a complete picture of your system, hardware and software. This already I have completed hardware and software. Hardware is again divided into two categories, input and output. Input unit we completed, output unit we completed. And system software and application software also be completed. And the next part of anatomy is CPU. CPU also be completed. One is input unit, output unit, arithmetic and logical unit, memory unit and control unit. Okay, the last one is the interface unit. Interface unit also now we completed. With this, anatomy of computer we completed. In the second chapter, only one topic left, that is a memory hierarchy. Hierarchy. Okay, actually hierarchy is nothing but it's a level. It is a structure. So in the system, we have different types of memories. Primary memory, secondary memory, cache memory, registers. We have different types of memory. And the size and the cost and the speed access speed is different from one storage unit to another storage unit. Okay, cost, everything is different. But in each and every memory storage unit, we have some advantages and disadvantages. So now come to our topic, memory hierarchy. So depends on the storage. Here we have a different levels of the storage unit. Means according to the smallest storage unit to the biggest storage. That level is called as a hierarchy. First level, second level, third level, fourth level. The total memory of the system is you can explain with the help of the hierarchy also. Okay, so here example, when you take the hierarchy of the system, first one we have a registers. The second one is you can take like this, cache memory. And the third one is a primary memory. Based on the size, you can categorize this. The next one is a secondary memory. This is a hierarchy. Smallest storage unit to the biggest storage unit. Okay, so registers. Actually, register is a smallest storage unit. Smallest storage unit in the system. What it will store is the instructions, the data, which is currently needed by the system, which CPU is going to ask currently. That information stored inside the registers. Okay, example, I want some information. And if that information is there in the college, example, that information is there in the college and it is there at my home also. Example, information is there, but which is near to me, whatever information I have in the college, that is very near to me. Okay, so that is the difference between your registers and your primary memory. I want information, I am the CPU, I want information. First, where I will see, right now I am in the college, where I will see in the college only I will see. Okay, means whatever information is there in the college, that is very near to me. Okay, in the same way, in the system also we have a different storage unit. Okay, in the storage units, registers are very close to the CPU. And what it contains, what is the current instructions and what is the current data is needed by the CPU. That information stored inside the registers. But the size of the register is very small compared to the cache memory, compared to the primary memory, compared to the secondary memory. But these are the very fastest storage devices. Okay, means because they are directly connected to the CPU. CPU directly, it can fetch the information from a registers. So whatever data is there in the registers, that can be accessed by CPU very fastly. But when you come to the secondary storage devices, we need mediator, but here they are directly communicating. Okay, and the cost of the, here we have different registers, instruction registers we have, data registers we have, PCB registers we have. Okay, program counter instructions we have. Instruction register means that register contain instructions, whatever needed to complete the execution. And program counter register contains the information about the next instruction. Okay, so these are the smallest units, but we have number of units, and each and every register is used to perform some different actions. Okay, which memory unit is very close to the CPU? Registers. Clear? Now come to the disadvantages. Here is, it is the smallest, it is the very smallest, but advantage, fastest, and it is very expensive characteristics. Okay, and it will store only the limited number of information like the instructions and whatever data currently needed by the CPU. That information stored inside the registers. First you take screenshot of this. Next you write the characteristics of registers. Now come to the cache memory. Cache memory. Already I have explained cache memory. Here you can see cache memory. See, cache memory is nothing but it is also a smallest storage unit, but it is a little bit big compared to the registers. What it will contain, what it contains actually. Example, frequently you're opening some files you're opening. See, whenever the CPU want to execute, example this is the CPU. CPU want to execute any file, first where it will see in the example, just let me, this is the CPU. Okay, CPU, it can take information from registers, it can take information from a cache memory, it can take information from a primary memory. Only from 3 units it can take the information. Secondary memory is there, but whatever files are there in the second memory, that should be transferred to the primary memory, because CPU cannot contact with the secondary memory. So registers already we completed. Come to the cache memory. The files which are frequently used by the user, that files are stored in the cache memory. Okay, actually why we are storing in the cache memory? In order to increase the performance of the system. See example, your file is not there in the cache memory. Your file is there in the secondary memory. So whatever information you want that file to be executed. Then what happened? That file should be transferred from primary memory, secondary memory to the primary memory. Then you can transfer that file to the CPU. So what happened? To transfer files between secondary memory and the CPU, it will take a time, because secondary memory to it should come to the primary memory. Again from primary memory to the CPU, because CPU directly cannot communicate with the secondary memory. Example, your file is there. You need some 10 files. The 10 files are in the secondary memory, and you are using the 10 files frequently. Then what happened? Every time loading the 10 files to your main memory, primary memory, and primary memory to the CPU. It is a wastage of CPU execution time. So when the CPU execution time is coming increasing, and your programs are less number of programs are executing, then the performance of the CPU will come down. Understood? When the number of programs are executed within a given time, the CPU performance will increase. That is called as a throughput. Okay. So to overcome from that problem, what we are doing is, whatever files the user is using frequently, that files we are storing in a cache memory. So cache memory, the CPU can directly communicate with the cache memory. So here you can increase the throughput. You can increase the performance of your CPU. Instead of coming to the secondary memory, directly the CPU can take programs from the cache memory. So indirectly you are increasing the throughput. That's all. See, from CPU to primary memory to the secondary memory, it is a time consuming process. So whatever files the user is using frequently, instead of storing that files in the secondary memory, the frequently used files are stored in the cache memory. Okay. So whenever the CPU wants to execute that file, it will search in the cache memory instead of searching in the secondary memory. So within a limited time, the more number of programs will be executed. So what happened? The throughput of the system will increase. Understood? Now come to the advantages. It is the fastest memory access device. Okay, and come to the disadvantages. It is expensive and it is small compared to the primary memory, secondary memory. Clear? Understood? And why we are using this is in order to increase the throughput of the CPU only we are using this. Now come to the primary memory. So here whatever programs you want to execute, that program should be in a primary memory. The CPU can directly contact with the primary memory. Okay, so whatever example your file is not there in the primary memory, the cache memory, then what happened, whatever your file is there in the secondary memory, so that secondary memory file should be transferred to your primary memory, and the CPU will take information from the primary memory. Understood? The CPU cannot directly communicate with the primary secondary memory. So whatever file you want to execute, that file is in the secondary memory. Then what happened, that file should be transferred from your secondary memory to the primary memory, and the CPU will take that file from a primary memory for the execution. Understood? So your primary memory is called as a main memory, and it is a very fast accessing the device. It can store few number of programs, the programs which are currently executing, that the data which is needed currently by the CPU. That information is stored inside the primary memory, but it is a volatile memory. Volatile memory means if there is no power supply, so whatever content you stored inside this memory, it is not available. So as long as the power supply is there, then you will get the content. If there is no power supply, then whatever content you stored inside the CPU, that will not be exist. Understood? And compared to the secondary memory, the speed of the system is the speed of accessing is very high in a primary memory. Okay, and it is compared to the secondary storage devices, whatever files are there, that are directly transferred to a CPU. And again, this primary memory is divided into two categories: RAM and ROM. In a RAM, random access memory means you can access the file randomly. Okay. Again, RAM is divided into a static and dynamic. Clear? Now come to the ROM, read-only memory. Read-only memory is also primary memory, but whatever content is there in the RAM, that is erased. Okay, that you can modify. But whatever content is there in the ROM, that is not modified by the user. Whatever content is there in the ROM, that information is given by the manufacturer of that product. Means actually in the ROM, what will store the information about the devices, whatever devices you are connecting to a system. All those devices information should be stored inside the ROM. So whenever that product is designed, the manufacturer of that product will store the instructions of that device in the they will supply that product's information, how to operate that product to the user, and that programs are stored inside the ROM. So that is why whatever programs are there in the ROM memory, only the user can read that information, but he cannot modify. Okay, random access memory is whatever content is there, that can be modified, that can be erased, that can be updated. But whatever content is there in the ROM, that information is not modified by the user. Whatever code is there in the ROM, that code is given by the manufacturer of the different input and output devices. So when they design the product and the instructions about that product, it means how to operate that product, all those instructions are given by the manufacturer, and that information is stored inside the ROM. And whenever you start your system, whenever you switch on that system, all the ROM content, means the software or instructions related to that products, should be loaded into your system. Then only that particular device will work, otherwise it won't work. Okay, so in the ROM, what we are storing, the information about the devices which are connected to your system. So if you want to use any devices, the software related to that product should be loaded first. Then only you can use that software as a device. Okay, and that information is stored inside the ROM. Understood? RAM, ROM, cache also be completed. The second one is the secondary storage device. So we have a number of advantages in a primary memory. At the same time, we have some disadvantages. Primary memory is it's a volatile memory, means when there is no power, whatever content you saved inside the primary memory, that will be lost. And the size of the primary memory is very small compared to the secondary memory. But in case of system, you have thousands of files. When you want to store thousands of files, this primary memory, cache memory, registers are not enough. So in that case, what we'll do is we'll take the help of the secondary memory. We are using another non-volatile and a permanent storage devices that are nothing but the secondary storage devices. In the secondary storage devices, actually what happened it is, you have number of advantages, but the accessing speed of the secondary storage devices is small, it's low compared to the primary memory. Now here, actually what secondary storage devices? Secondary storage devices is nothing but it is a storage unit only. But here you can store the large volume of data. You can store a huge volume of data like 1,000, million, trillions of files you can store in the secondary storage devices. Understood? And it is also, it is a non-volatile memory, means once the content is saved, that content is a permanent. So whenever you want to delete, you can delete, but when there is no power supply, whatever content is there in the secondary memory, that will not be deleted. Understood? Second is whatever content stored inside the secondary memory, that content is stored on permanent basis. Okay, that is why it is called as a non-volatile memory. But in the secondary memory, whatever information is stored, that is stored in the form of magnetized data. Magnetized data means what? It is a digital only, but that information is stored in a magnetized plates, like a circles. So what happened if you are storing a magnetized data? If there is no power supply also, whatever data you have stored, that will not be lost. Okay, so that is why in the secondary storage devices, example we have number of secondary storage devices, hard disk, magnetic tape, floppy disk, optical disk. We have number of secondary storage devices. In all the secondary storage devices, whatever information you are storing, all the information is stored on a magnetic coated material. So when you are storing information on a magnetic coated material, whatever content you saved on that will be permanent. That will not be lost if there is no power supply also. Understood? So here you can store large volume of data, but one disadvantage is that whenever the user want to execute any file which is located in a secondary storage device, it cannot be accessed directly. Okay, where you have to transfer from the secondary storage device, you have to transfer your files to the primary storage device, and CPU will take files from the primary storage device. Okay, only one that the disadvantage we have. So that is why whatever speed of the secondary storage devices is, that is less compared to the primary memory. Because whenever the user want to execute, whatever files are there in the secondary memory, that should be transferred to your primary memory. Okay, this transferring time will decreasing the performance of your secondary storage device. But you have a number of advantages. It is a big storage unit, it is a non-volatile, and it is storing a magnetized material, and whatever information it is storing on a permanent basis it is storing. Okay, and in the last class also I have completed few secondary storage devices: hard disk, magnetic tape, and what extra I have completed, optical disk I have completed, floppy disk I have completed. That 4 are storage units only. But whatever data content they are storing, the size of the content they are storing, that is different. Okay, so this is about your memory hierarchy, interface unit. Okay, so only one topic left in a second chapter, that is operating system. And in the exam, you can expect operating system. It's very, very, very important. Okay, that what is operating system, functions of the operating system, how it is related to your system, that we'll discuss in the next class. Okay, thank you.